So my name is Shelby. I'm from Albuquerque, New Mexico. I lived with my grandmother because my mom, she was a drug addict and couldn't really take care of us or keep us safe. So my grandmother had me. I remember her being very loving. You know, she didn't have to take in 8 kids, but she did in a small little trailer. We lived in a trailer park in Sunset Acres. So she took all of us in. She just was real sweet. She always was caring for all the friends in the neighborhood. So everyone knows, we call her Oma. She's German. So Oma is grandma, but everyone thought that was her real name. But yeah, so she's always been Oma to everyone. And then she just took really good care of us. She was always praying. That was the thing. Every night she would sit out there and pray, even with all of us running around. She just was praying. I remember asking her like why she was reading that and what she was doing. She's like, I'm just praying for the family. And she told me she prays for us every night and prays for my mom and everything, that she just finds her way through. And so once I remember that night clearly, because then I was like, I want to be like that. I want to pray too. And like, she just took me to church all the time. And she always just reminded us that, you know, there's God, and not everything the bad that happens in our life is because God made it happen. There's sin everywhere. So we can't control what other people are doing and what sin happens. And it's not always God's fault. That's how I always took it. So during my tribulations and like bad times, I was always like able to fall back and still have my faith, because I always had that in my head too. It's not always, God didn't cause this. So my grandmother died, and right after she died, within that same year, my brother was murdered. So my aunt fell really bad on drugs. And then like, you know, the family just kind of trickled and fell apart. Everything fell apart. I started running away a lot from home. So by the 3rd time, I think, of running away, my aunt gave me like the ultimatum, like, you could stay here, which in my head was like, well, this isn't going well here either, or go with your mother out there in Albuquerque. And so I left my little small town outside of Albuquerque and went with my mom. She dropped me off. And well, my mom was in Los Lunas, which is right outside of Albuquerque at the time, staying with one of her friends. And then we ended up back in Albuquerque and just homeless. So I was homeless with my mom, basically. And then her friend's son I met, well, I'd known him since I was little, but he was much older. So I ended up just staying with him a lot. And then, you know, dating and drugs. Started using drugs at 14 and just downhill from there. Yeah, that's all the way. And then I met, well, and then another much older person. He was a drug dealer. So I started dating him too. So it just was, you know, bad situation after bad situation. But I always leaned on God. That was the crazy part. I always had a Bible, and I never lost my faith. So I got arrested dating the drug dealer guy. I just turned 18, and we got into a physical altercation in a vehicle, and we got pulled over because of it. So I got arrested. I went to jail. I wasn't really thinking of like changing. I was just like, oh, I hope this ends soon. You know, I'm trying to, you know, do drugs. I was granted pretrial services, and I completed that in 3 months. Thought it was all done with like the charges and everything. And then within like 6-7 months later, I found out I had a warrant. You know, I was homeless still, bouncing place to place. Got that figured out, and then I was put on probation, and it took 6 long months of me being on probation. And I relapsed off and on. I relapsed all the way until after I had my oldest, well, that one last time. My counselor, my drug counselor, she helped me a lot. Like realize like by 6 months, I was like, this isn't like, what am I doing? You know, like the stupidity of it and like where I was at and like, why do I want to make myself continue to struggle or put myself in positions? I had people dying a lot around me. It was like over like stupid stuff too, just unnecessary things. So she kind of helped push it, but having my daughter, my oldest, really got me to get my act together. I relapsed 2 weeks after she was born, and that was the last time I relapsed. And I couldn't even touch her or hold her for like 2 days straight. It was very hard, but I promised her, I looked at her and said, I'll never touch this stuff again. And I am here today not touching it. Just get out of it. It's not worth it. That's I still talk to a lot of friends back at home that are still on it. One actually got out of it and thanked me, because like I always just try to encourage him because his daughter needed more. It always helps, I know, when you have like that, you know, your kid to lean back on, or like I'm doing it for my kid, but at the end, you got to do it for yourself, because how can you better yourself and be better for yourself if you can't love yourself? So I would just definitely say, get out of it. It's not worth it, and learn to love yourself before anything else. You can't properly care or love or do anything good for other people if you don't do it good for yourself. I met Garrett during my struggles, but we eventually got together after all the craziness, and we had our kid, my Rosemary. But he struggled for the last 6 years trying to get off meth. He even went to rehab in Austin, Texas, and still struggled. When he got back, he did pretty good for about a month or two, and then fell right back and got even more worse. So it was kind of like, my older sister was already out here just starting her life away from everything in Albuquerque. So it was kind of like, this is the last straw. Either we leave and I save my relationship and my kids' father and, make sure they have what we didn't have growing up, or I just keep sticking it out in Albuquerque and things get worse and we separate. So we made the decision to come out here with our tax money, put it all into a house, and now a year later he's sober. He's got baptized, and he is more godly than I think I've ever seen him before in my entire life. He used to sweat when he'd go into church and have to leave. But yeah, I'm grateful for where we're at now, and I found Anchor on Google. They have a 5-star rating, so I was like, we're going there. And the first day was great, and I remember David telling me he kept asking to take us out for coffee or to eat, and then he told us, he's like, how can I pray for you if I don't know you? How I can't just pray for you if I don't know who you are and your story. I just want to get to know you. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. And it was just, I've never had a pastor like that. Most churches, I just showed up and they're like, oh, so nice to meet you, and went on their day. But he really cares. This is nice. A lot has happened. I've found more peace. I've just been more relaxed. My relationship with God has gotten way more stronger, and I feel more I've always believed in him, but I feel like it's there now. No, this is it. God's real. I don't want to say I doubted, but I have the confidence now, and then I pray more than I've ever prayed before in my entire life, honestly. Even throughout all the stuff I was going through, now I pray the most. And then I'm just grateful because my kids are really involved into it. And my oldest prays all the time. We pray at night before we go to sleep. So church is hard. There's some churches where you just don't feel like you're at home, or you don't feel welcome. Some people struggle with certain churches, if that relationship's ruined. But I would say just give it another chance. Look around, go everywhere till you find the one you like. That's what I do. And I found the one I love, and it worked out. I would say go to Anchor. I'm inviting people to Anchor because it always feels better after service. And every time I do bring someone new, that's the first thing they tell me after service is, wow, that was great. I needed that. Or I get thanked. My older sister at worship night, I really needed that. That helped me a lot. And so it just warms my heart and maybe helps people, just lead them back into church whenever they were so far out of it. So that just brings me peace, and then hearing they needed it and it felt good. And I'm like, well, come back. I decided to get baptized because I wanted to get rid of the old self, basically. That's how I look at it. I needed to wash away all this stuff, the stress, the fear, the anxiety and everything, and just get refreshed basically and start fresh again with God, even though you can start fresh every day. But I just took that as a real serious moment for me to start taking it serious and to just get washed of all of it and start fresh with him. That's how I took it. Maybe barely 2 months in, David was asking me because it was coming up and asked if I would like to, and I was like, yeah, I'm all for it. And I started talking to Garrett at home about it, and then he blew my mind because he's like, yeah, I'll do it with you. And I was like, whoa. This is great, So we didn't speak, just because we have a lot to say, and then our story might be too much on others. It was nice just to get baptized, and just to me it changed me a little bit, but you still got to put in the work. That's how I always say it. One big thing, if I don't pray, I'm like, oh, I need to pray, So I just feel like I have him more in my life, and then I see little things going to work. And I remember I was having a stressful day, for example, the other day, and I was just irritated, and I got in the car, went to work, and I listened to my Christian rap, but I love Christian rap. But I got out of the car, and a man in a nice suit just walked up to me, which was random. It was just by himself, and he's like, here. And it was a pamphlet saying why do we suffer? Here's some scripts to read to understand. Like, it's not like God forcing suffering on us, like I was talking about earlier. I was like, wow, like, I know it's not him forcing my stress right now and everything, but it helped me. And then I got inside and got me a Snickers bar at the vending machine, and a quarter came out, and it said hope on the bag. And I was like, wow. And to me, that's God talking to me. So it's like weird stuff like that. Like, it's not weird, but you know what I'm saying. Just a lot stronger connection with him for sure.